WXEX-TV 8.
This is TV8 Live Eyewitness News with Barbara Berlin, Loretta Johnson on weather, and on sports, Lou Charlotte.
Good evening. In order to promote a black Richmond...
From WXEX-TV 8, this is Eyewitness News with Lisa Schaffner, Steve Bucci on sports, and weather with Kyle Osborne.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our top story.
From WXEX-TV 8, this is Eyewitness News with Kevin McGraw, Carol Meekins, meteorologist John Bernier, and Chip Tarkenton on sports.
Good evening. Kevin has the night off. You may be better off dialing direct tonight.
This is Eyewitness News 11 at 11 with Kevin McGraw, Carol Meekins, John Bernier's 24-hour forecast, and Chip Tarkenton on sports. Now, 11 at 11.
Good evening. Our top story tonight.
From WRIC-TV 8 in Richmond, this is TV8 Eyewitness News at 6.
Well,
this is WRIC-TV 8 News at noon with Dave Tiller and Tracy Butler.
there will be...
From Richmond, this is WRIC TV8 News at 6.
From Richmond's News People, 8 News, this is Good Morning Richmond. From Richmond's News People, this is 8 News at noon.
From Richmond's News People, this is 8 News at 6.
From Richmond's News People, this is 8 News tonight.
The man accused in the nation's deadliest bombing has his first day in court.
But his lawyers say they can't represent him. Good evening, I'm Rick Young.
And I'm Lisa Schaffner.
With more local news from your community, you're watching 8 News.
From your local news source, this is Good Morning Richmond.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on this Tuesday morning. It is the 25th day of March, 2003. I am Gwen Williams.
And I'm John Reed. From your local news source, this is 8 News Now.
A child walking along a Petersburg street right here is hit by gunfire tonight. Police are looking for the gunman. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Schaffner. Juan is off tonight.
As millions gather across the country to bring in the new year, security officials are working hard to keep terrorists at bay. And an area family struggles to find their missing 5-year-old.
Live, local, late breaking, plus Doppler 8 weather. This is 8 News at 6.
Good evening and Happy New Year. We'll have that story in a moment, but first a check on the forecast.
Good Morning Richmond starts now.
Good morning, and thank you for starting this Wednesday with us here on Good Morning Richmond. I am Gwen Williams.
I'm Chip Tarkenton. The alarm's probably going off. It is straight up 6 o'clock.
Exactly, on the dot. So, good morning to
Rise
you.
and shine.
The latest.
8 News at 5 starts now.
Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. Developing right now, the search is on for a man who is wanted for shooting 3 people in Petersburg last night.
Richmond's only station to win the Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in news.
We're convinced there's a large number that aren't telling the truth.
What's a lie that's costing taxpayers big bucks? Now a local court clerk reacts to an 8 News investigation that uncovered a loophole in Virginia law allowing criminal defendants to hide assets from the court and get away with it. Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 5:30. I'm Amy Lacey.
And I'm Gene Cox. You're watching 8 News on WRIC.
5:46 now. Some special four-legged friends have just made the long journey from New Orleans to Richmond overnight.
8 News at 5 starts now.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Darielle Snipes.
And I'm Amy Lacey. We are learning shocking new details about
A controversial promotion puts the Richmond Flying Squirrels in the national spotlight. We're live at the game.
Everybody was like shocked, and then we just, like, everybody was like, hooray.
You'd be shocked, too, if you saw a woman give birth in a subway station. We've got the crazy story from D.C. Plus, a heartwarming tale from Petersburg, where this disabled veteran and his family finally have a place they can call home.
8 News at 11 starts now.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Juan Condi.
I'm Christina Ferrick. The Richmond Flying Squirrels are being talked about all across the country tonight.
It was
Today's top stories and your weather forecast in the first 8 minutes. Now on 8 News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Juan Condi.
And I'm Christina Ferrick. We begin with a break in the case of 4 family members killed in Petersburg, including a 2-year-old boy. Tonight at 6, state preparing for the arrival of Hurricane Matthew. We'll tell you what you need to do to prepare here at home.
And a woman in Petersburg with unpaid utility bills. How it could affect her in her run for city council.
Plus, a 21-year-old woman missing in Richmond.
Her mother talks to 8 News.
8 News at 6 starts now.
Everything in my house is wet. I've lost everything. The water took it. I won't have a chance to get it back.
Today's top stories and your weather forecast in the first 8 minutes. Now on 8 News at 11.
Independence Day celebrations lighting up the sky across central Virginia tonight. You're looking at fireworks from Dogwood Dell in Richmond. Always a very big celebration down there. Now this is the view thousands were treated to on the National Mall. A light drizzle was falling when the fireworks began around 9, and clouds did interfere a little, but for the most part you can see the display still putting a sparkle over the Capitol. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Matthew McClellan.
Good Morning Richmond starts now.
Thanks for joining us for Good Morning Richmond. I'm Evan Armour. We'll get to your top stories in just a moment, but as always,
You're watching 8 News, news where you live.
thanks so much for joining us for 8 News at 9. Happy Friday to you. I'm Evan Armour.
You're watching 8 News, news where you live.
Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 9. I'm Kristen Smith.
And I'm Amy Simpson. We'll get to your headlines and news where you live coming right up, but we always start with your weather first. And on
8 News starts now.
Thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news. The Hanover Sheriff's Office is asking for your help to find this missing teen.
Her name is Bethany Jean Pearl. The 17-year-old last seen at her home on Saturday. Police say she's known to frequent Northern Virginia. If you've seen her, call police.
8 News at 6 starts now.
Another hot, humid day in Richmond. A live look now over the James River. We thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Christina Ferrick.
I'm Juan Condi. We begin tonight with your Storm Tracker 8 forecast. Another day of triple-digit heat.
Today's top stories in the weather where you live in the first 8 minutes. 8 News starts now.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
8 News starts now.
8 News is your local election headquarters. I'm Juan Condi.
I'm Christina Ferrick. The big story tonight, Democrat Ralph Northam is Virginia's next governor.
8 News starts now with your Storm Tracker 8 forecast first. 8 News starts now with your Storm Tracker 8 forecast first. Live with the news where you live. Good Morning Richmond starts now. Live with the news where you live. 8 News starts now.
Good morning, Richmond. Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 9 on this Friday morning. I'm Delaney Hall. John Rogers has the morning off.
Live with the news where you live. 8 News starts now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for 8 News at noon. I'm John Rogers.
Now on 8 News at 5. 2 men in the hospital after an axe attack and shooting in Richmond overnight. What we know about the violence as neighbors wonder what happened. A chase in Chesterfield leads police all the way to Petersburg. 8 News digs into the surveillance video showing the moments leading up to the officers trying to stop the suspect. What's next for the dogs at the Envigo breeding facility in Cumberland County? How some of them are finding homes, and what's to come now that the facility is shutting its doors.
with the news where you live. 8 News starts now.
Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 5. I'm Deanna Albritton.
I'm Eric Phillips. We've seen some. Now on 8 News at 5:30. As Congress debates gun control, we're digging into Virginia's red flag law. Is it working? How it's been used for the past 2 years. Devastating flooding shutting down Yellowstone National Park. A look at the damage and evacuations going on tonight. Communities in Central Virginia are working to keep you cool this summer. How some folks are already using these resources to beat the heat.
Live with the news where you live. 8 News starts now.
Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 5:30. I'm Eric Phillips.
I'm Deanna Albritton. We have had storms rolling through Central Virginia all day. You and I were both trying to run in to not get caught in the rain on our way in today.
Absolutely. I think we managed to dodge those raindrops. And Storm Tracker 8 Chief Meteorologist John Bernier is standing by in our Weather Center with what's on tap for tonight. JB.
Well, the good news is the storms that came down out of the northwest today have been relatively tame for us here. The strongest batch this afternoon.
Now on 8 News at 6, a family is in mourning tonight after their loved one was shot and killed in his own home. The man's former girlfriend now facing a murder charge. Tonight, hear from the family still in disbelief. A series of catalytic converter thefts continues, making a pit stop in one woman's front yard. What she's doing to get answers. Dozens of people from across Virginia gathered to give a World War II veteran a final salute.
Oh, it melted my heart.
The memorial service honoring an Army combat nurse.
Live with the news where you live. 8 News at 6 starts now.
A family is left devastated tonight after their father was shot and killed. Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 6. I'm Eric Phillips. Deanna is off tonight. The suspect is behind bars, but the family is still heartbroken over the loss. 8 News reporter Rachel Keller joining us live in the Digital Center tonight after speaking to the family. Rachel, good evening.
Good evening, Eric. It's been just a few days.
Tonight on 8 News at 11, a mass shooting in Philadelphia leaves 3 people dead and 11 others hurt.
The scary part is that when she left, it felt like half of me left with her.
Now, 2 suspects have been arrested in Central Virginia. What their future holds as they wait to be extradited back to Pennsylvania. The first hearings from the January 6th committee are broadcast in primetime. What we learned tonight from witnesses who were at the Capitol as it fell under attack. Young children could soon be vaccinated against COVID-19, where health leaders stand as they get ready to discuss approval.
Today's top stories and your Storm Tracker 8 forecast in the first 8 minutes. 8 News starts now.
2 men wanted for a mass shooting in Philadelphia have been arrested in Henrico. Thanks for joining us for 8 News at 11. I'm Deanna Albritton.
I'm Eric Phillips.
WRIC.com.